This next person is similar to Jackson in the idea that he is protecting his race. Jackson was a white man, and Micaiah Xavier Johnson is a black man. This happened in Dallas, Texas, and Johnson was convicted of killing 5 police officers and injuring 7 others. And the motive, the reason behind his actions is, as he told hostage negotiators, to kill white police officers. That was the specificity, but he also, I would assume, had no problem, killing white civilians as well. To give some background, he was a member of the Army Reserve. He served in Afghanistan. With his history also came with accusations of sexual harassment while in Afghanistan. So you know how, I choose to examine it, but just not nitpick at it as others may do. It is something to consider. Any sexual harassment case is supposed to be taken seriously and should be taken seriously. And I'm not saying that I should, push that aside and judge him on everything else. That is very much something to consider. And in my research as well, I found a very interesting article on the Huffington Post. And the article was a comparison piece to past American assassins, according to John Douglas in his book, The Anatomy of Motive. And with this comparison, it was describing, the tendencies, according to Douglas, of an assassin, such like avoiding eye contact. They are, quote, suspicious, have a deep sense of inadequacy. They want to be understood, so they tend to write, according to Douglas. And this is the case with Johnson as well. They did find a notebook with writing in it, but it wasn't released to the public as far as I know. And with this case, it is definitely, mental health and mental illness knows no race. So with that said, again, I am a Black Lives Matter advocate and believer, but not all of us want to see the death of any other race. This is why I think this particular case is so important, because we're losing lives on all sides. We have to come to a better understanding of compassion and love and just listening. You have to listen. And you may not agree, you may agree to disagree, but I think for myself personally, listening has always been so important. And to bring it back, with all of these tendencies that Douglas has picked up on, and how they are expressed, the biggest thing that I took away from it is that the individual committing this crime sees it as they are the victim. They are the ones that are in distress. And with Johnson's case, it's speculated that he was in distress because, he got, surprisingly, an honorable discharge after this sexual harassment case in Afghanistan. And I would assume, I would think that with that said, and with that thought process, you know, he could think or imagine or envision that the Army Reserve had disowned him. Or, I don't know, it's interesting because it's also claimed that his mother said that, you know, when he entered the Army Reserve, it was not what he expected. And either, that could be either, you know, he had just way high expectations and it just, you know, wasn't living up to his image. And I think that's what it is. You know, with these cases, with Christian, you know, there is this image of what America is about and what it has to be. We are pure, we are white, we are this, we are that. But America is so much more. It really is. It's so much more. America, there is a lot to be said. And I think now I'm starting to get emotional because today is Columbus Day. Fuck Columbus Day. That's how I feel. My second to last person is, someone that got a lot of media, and this happened in 2015, and it's another thing that hits home for me. Not so directly personal, but Dylan Roof was accused and convicted of killing 9 people in a church, and the sole reason, the only conclusion that these families heard was that it was to start a race war. That is the only reason. And I think this is another open case of mental illness, and especially of conditioned behaviors and ideologies and perspectives. This was conditioned, and in my opinion, it was definitely blatantly self-conditioned. I don't think it was the start, but according to Roof, where it started for him was when he heard about Trayvon Martin's death, and when he took it upon himself to research black on white crime. This hits home for me because although I am not a Christian, I was raised in a Christian home, and I understand, even as an agnostic, I understand the sanctity and respect and comfort and peace that one has with any religious building, whether it be a mosque or a church or whatever, you know, affiliation to your religion it is. And I feel the sense of safety just ripped out under you. This is a place of prayer that people find comfort and solace and guidance. Like, again, I'm not Christian, but I understand the importance of that to people. So this is definitely a mental illness case for me. It definitely is. Yeah. I'm gonna light some more sage. because I get passionate when I talk about these things. Like, when I say it hits home, it really does. With that said, let me just light this up more. With that said, this last person, Robert Deere, was convicted of killing 3 people, injuring 9 others in Colorado Springs at a Planned Parenthood clinic. Now, this is obvious why this hits home for me. I am a woman. Oy vey. Where do I begin? As I said before, I am not Christian. I do not affiliate with any particular religion. I consider myself agnostic. But, and this I could go on for a long time, but when it comes to religious people that don't practice what they preach, and they, in this particular case for Robert Deere, believe that no matter what they do, as long as you believe in God, everything's gooch. Like, that's just beyond me. And, on a personal level, like, I know someone who considers himself a Christian, and, this person has changed over the years. They come from a really rough place, and they've done a lot of wrong, and they've done a lot of sin. But this person is older, not old, but older, and there are just so many contradictions sometimes between what the Bible says and what his actions are. So that's how, like with Jackson and with Mateen and with Ruth, they all touch me in some way personally. For Robert Deere, his wife spoke about his domestic abuse behavior, and he has a apparent history of a lot of relationships and wives and whatnot. So he sounds on the outside like a very impulsive, reckless person. And I think what sickens me the most about this case is that he did it all in the name of, quote, no more baby parts. That is the only statement and reason that we have from this individual, is no more baby parts. How do you absorb that? How do you tell those families that's his conclusion? Knock on wood, I never have to be in a situation of violence and terror when it comes to America. Yes, I experience, racism being, within New York City. And I've experienced it for quite a bit of time. And it's just, all of these cases, whether it be whether you want to look at it as mental health or a mental illness, and again, that line is just very iffy sometimes. And it's very situational to the person and to the time. Because again, for the person that I know who's Christian, was it, does he have a mental illness? Like, where does the line, and I want to hear from you guys, like, where do you draw the line between mental health and mental illness? Do you feel that mental health has a more positive connotation and mental illness has a more negative connotation? Do you think that they can switch and or overlap? Tell me what you think about these cases. Tell me about something that I haven't heard of before that I didn't mention. You know, through it all, I think we have to I think it starts with gaining a positive relationship with yourself and being very rooted and grounded in expressing yourself, and verbally, that is verbally, I should specify, but your relationship, all of what I'm trying to say boils down to your relationship with your reality and your perception of life and all the little fixings that come with it shapes who you are. But to me, in my opinion, it's a mental illness when you start harming yourself or other people. Tell me what you think. Let me know. Subscribe and leave a comment. This has been Danielle Faulkner for the first episode of Bouquet. Hope you enjoyed my topic, and definitely stay tuned next week when I have a new video. Bye.